I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me
A symphony of silence, when the star walks without a shield. BTS walks alone again. HYBE's silence feels like betrayal. Some stars are born loud. Taehyung was not one of them. He arrived quietly like winter mist, soft, silver and staying. But in a world that glorifies noise, quiet hearts are often misunderstood. And when the storm came, he didn't scream. He simply walked, barefoot, through the glass of public suspicion. He was never just V of BTS. He was the brushstroke that made the portrait whole. A poet in motion. A singer whose voice wrapped around sadness like a lullaby. Yet when the world turned its eyes, cold and confused, there was no one standing behind him. No press release. No shield. Just silence, echoing louder than any scandal. HYBE, are you listening? Where was the agency when his name burned in headlines? When faceless rumors clawed at his dignity? When fans lit up hashtags like candles in a storm, hoping anyone would come out and say, "He doesn't deserve this"? But HYBE remained still. Strategic, perhaps, but to many, disturbingly absent. The silence was not elegant. It was not graceful. It was abandonment dressed in corporate calm. The burden of beauty and kindness. Taehyung didn't cry on live. Didn't beg. Didn't retaliate. He smiled, bowed and gave. Again and again. At concerts with aching eyes. At airports with cameras inches from his skin. He still stopped to wave. Still softened the world with a glance. But kindness too gets tired. And there are wounds that kindness cannot conceal forever. Army, the voice that spoke when management wouldn't. It was Army, fierce, loyal, unrelenting, who stood up. Who said, "This is not fair. This is not love. This is not how you protect someone who built your empire." They wrote threads. They made videos. They documented every unfair silence. Not to destroy but to defend. And their question was simple. If the world drags him, will HYBE keep watching? The myth of equal protection. Not all stars are guarded the same. And that is the harsh, aching truth no one wants to say out loud. There are favorites. There are political calculations. There are agendas that don't rhyme with justice. Taehyung never demanded privilege. He only needed protection. A sentence. A post. A gesture that said, "We see him. We stand with him." But the gesture never came. What fans see when they see him walk alone. Every time Taehyung walks out alone, in oversized coats and quiet grace, fans do not just see fashion. They see someone enduring. Someone not defended. Not corrected. Not acknowledged. And so fans have become his shield. But they should not have to be. The cost of silence. There's a cost to staying quiet. Reputation withers. Trust erodes. And the public begins to ask not just why but how long. How long will kindness be met with indifference? How long will brilliance walk alone? How long will loyalty be a one-way contract? He's still creating. But he shouldn't have to suffer in silence. Even now, Taehyung creates. He paints, writes, records, whispers his soul into the wind. He doesn't need drama, he needs dignity. He doesn't need pity, he needs partnership. And the sad truth is this. When an artist begins to be braver than the system meant to protect him, it is the system that must be questioned. What the world is waiting for. Fans don't want war. They want a whisper. Just one word from HYBE. We see you. We support you. We care. But even whispers are too loud, it seems. Final words. Taehyung may never say what hurts. But fans hear it, in the silences between his smiles. In the stillness before he sings. In the pauses that last too long in interviews. He deserves more than applause. He deserves protection. Because even in a world as brilliant as Kpop, there are shadows behind every spotlight. And sometimes the strongest star is the one who keeps shining, even when no one stands behind him.
me a favor, don't treat me like a neighbor. Don't need the different flavors of your problems just to savor. I've got my own issues, I need a comb to get through. Don't need to.
The star that spoke in silence, Taehyung and the echo after the storm. Still no word from HYBE, yet Taehyung's grace speaks louder than any statement. There's something tragic about resilience. It is noble, but it should never be the only option. And yet here he is. Still showing up. Still carrying beauty like a burden wrapped in silk. Still smiling as if the betrayal behind him was just a dream. The public now walks a little more carefully around his name, because they've seen how gently he holds their trust, even as his own has been quietly fractured. Behind closed doors, open wounds. They say maybe HYBE is handling things privately. Maybe silence is strategy. But what do you call a strategy that leaves a soul unshielded? Fans are not asking for a scandal. They're not asking for a press conference. They're asking for acknowledgement. But behind the office glass and rehearsed policies, Taehyung's name is met with hesitation, not defense. And hesitation, to fans who've watched every bruise, feels like betrayal wearing a polite suit. Where does loyalty sleep? Loyalty, they say, is mutual. But ARMY's feels one-sided now. Taehyung gives and gives and gives. Even when broken. Even when burned. Even when the silence of his own house becomes a louder enemy than any antis. What kind of loyalty requires silence in return? The pain of being the quiet one. If Taehyung were louder, maybe the world would listen. If he posted rants, maybe headlines would erupt. If he wept on livestream, maybe HYBE would react. But he doesn't. He lets the silence stretch. Lets the fans guess. Lets the burden sit silently in his chest. As if pain was part of his contract. A voice that shouldn't be alone. A single whisper from his agency. He's ours. We stand by him. Would mean the world. But it never comes. And so his voice remains alone in the crowd. Like a violin in an empty theater. Beautiful. Trembling. Unanswered. Why this matters more than ever. Because this isn't just about Taehyung. This is about every artist who's told to be strong when they're scared. Every performer expected to endure pain in silence for the sake of image. And in Taehyung, the world sees the face of that endurance. Too elegant to cry out. Too graceful to rage. But that doesn't mean he's not hurting. The weight of being the softest one. He is the soft one. The slow thinker in a world of speed. The quiet presence in an industry that screams. And soft things left unguarded bruise easily. Yet he has not shattered. Not once. He has only reshaped the sadness into art. And that is the most heartbreaking thing of all. Fans are not management, they are exhausted too. The fans have shouted for too long. They have trended, written letters, posted proof, begged for fairness. But they are not PR agents. They are not crisis managers. They are human beings. Begging for dignity. On behalf of someone who never asked for anything. What happens if nothing changes? If HYBE continues to say nothing? The silence will not disappear. It will solidify. Turn into stone. And one day people will say, they didn't protect him when he needed it. And that will be harder to erase than any rumor. Because silence, when chosen too often, becomes a reputation. But still he rises. Yet despite all this, Taehyung still rises. He posts art. He dances without rush. He shares late-night photos with trembling captions. He lets fans into his soul. Even when his own company closes its doors. And the love from the world comes back tenfold. Not because of manufactured image, but because of raw, undeniable truth. In the end, the world knows. The world sees him. For who he is. For how he gives. For how he lives, quietly, artistically, vulnerably. And maybe HYBE doesn't realize it yet. But history already knows who stood and who looked away.